Hello and welcome to the Women's Officer Candidate Hustings for the 2021 Manchester SU Officer Elections. The election coverage this year is hosted by the University of Manchester Student Media Team, Manchester Media Group. I'm Maisie Woodford, Station Manager of UOM's student radio station, Fuse FM. Hi. Yesterday, we heard from candidates for the roles of General Secretary and International Officer. You can watch that back on the Mancunian's Facebook page and the SU's Facebook and YouTube channels. Joining me today are one of the 5 candidates for the Women's Officer role, Anja Seymour-Lewis. Katie Donnelly-Hahn, Jaffa Cake and Jasmine Hewitt were unfortunately unable to attend, but you can read their full manifestos on the SU website. Jazz Taylor was also unable to attend live for health reasons, but pre-recorded her answers, which we played during the stream. These candidates are all students with a passion for gender equality and women's rights. The Women's Officer has the opportunity to plan and run campaigns and projects, to host events for women, and to lobby and negotiate for changes in the university and city. We have a rich history of women's rights movements in Manchester, and these candidates aim to be a part of that. To begin, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an introductory speech about themselves and their manifestos. When their 2 minutes are up, I'm going to raise my hand to indicate that they should finish at the end of their sentence. All right. India, you ready?
Yeah.
Take it away.
I'm India, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm 21 years old, and I am currently completing my MA in Gender, Sexuality and Culture, which I believe provides me with an in-depth knowledge that is tailored to this role as women's officer. I actually did my undergrad in Nottingham, which I know, like, some people are going to think would hinder me in a role in Manchester. But I think that it's given me a perspective that can help in this role, as I can apply what was and wasn't on offer in Nottingham to my role as Women's Officer. I want to ensure that the Women's Officer advocates for all students, regardless of where they do or don't fall on the gender spectrum. I also want to guarantee intersectional approaches to all events, campaigns and other SU proceedings. By working with the Liberation and Access and Welfare and Community Offices, all SU activities will be properly and effectively inclusive of everyone's needs. I plan to run employability events that can assist those underrepresented in the workplace. This means workshops on identifying and tackling harassment and prejudice and overcoming prejudices in job searches, as well as creating spaces for students to talk safely and openly with other students about the issues they face when pursuing careers after graduation. Obviously, the pandemic has limited the interactions we have outside of our homes, and with the government's recent COVID roadmap, I know that everyone is itching for June 21st, whether that's for the pubs, clubs, or just shopping in the city centre. So it is essential that the SU develops ways to ensure the safety of women and marginalised groups as we readjust to the outside world. I wish to see changes like these made whether I am voted in or not, and will help in any way I can to make that happen.
All right, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, India. Now we can hear from Jazz Taylor, who pre-recorded her speech.
I'm Jazz Taylor, and I'm running for Women's Exec in this year's elections. I'm a queer, disabled gender studies student, and I'm really hoping to make big intersectional change within the university. Over the past few years, I've gained some great experiences of feminist and liberation work in my degree, working as an advisor for a mental health organisation, volunteering as a disabled students officer in the SU, and before that being on the committee of the Feminist Collective, wherein I worked with Misogyny is Hate and Citizens UK to get Andy Burnham's backing in an initiative to support victims of domestic violence. If elected, I will work hard on implementing change within 4 key areas, alongside running the Reclaim the Nice event. These 4 key aims are: 1. Mental wellbeing reform, wherein I intend to ensure that students have access to a counselling service appropriate for their specific needs and experiences. 2. Implementing sexual wellbeing support, so working with sexpression and support for student sex workers to improve access to sexual health resources and building on existing support for victims of sexual assault. 3. Student safety initiatives, self-defense classes and working with campus security and societies to ensure that people feel safer on campus. And 4. Fair, accessible housing, lobbying for access to fairly priced housing for all students, particularly disabled people who currently experience immense difficulty in finding places to live. So vote for Jazz Taylor as Women's Officer for effective intersectional change.
Now it's time for some questions submitted by the student body. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer them, after which I'll again give you a cheeky little wave to indicate that it's time to wrap up. The first question we've got for you is, what motivated you to run for Women's Officer in this election? India?
Well, I am a gender MA student, so obviously I'm very in tune with gender issues and issues of marginalisation. And to be honest, I felt like I always want to do things like this and don't push myself enough. And I think that I would be good in this role. So I just kind of took the leap and applied.
All right, brilliant. We're now going to hear from Jazz Taylor again, who's pre-recording.
I'm very passionate about feminism, and I've spent the last few years sort of working in various campaigning positions as like an advisor in a mental health charity, advocating for sort of domestic abuse campaigning, and working with various groups. And I think that's really given me the skills and also the drive to want to change things, not just for like a specific group of women, but intersectionally across campus. And I think there's a lot of issues that can and should be fixed that I would like to enact, really.
Sexual assault and gender-based violence are obviously major issues for female presenting students. What ideas do you have for improving the safety of female students in the city? We'll hear from Jazz Taylor first.
For my manifesto in regards to supporting people who are victims of sexual assault and also preventing it in the first place, I will be lobbying for more policy to support student sex workers and victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Continuing the work out on night out initiatives with local bars that previous women's officers have enacted, providing regular defence classes and working with security to foster better campus safety. I think those are all really important and hopefully will generate some level of change.
India, what are your thoughts?
I think Jazz's points were really good. I also would like to keep working with the with bars and clubs for nights out and safety and operating the the system of going to the bar and asking for help. I also feel that there's not enough focus on creating safety and removing the taboo-ness of it in university. So,
all right, brilliant. What are the main ways that you feel the university could improve on gender imbalance in academia and the curriculum, and your ideas on how we could tackle those issues? We'll start with Jazz.
Recognising that disadvantage is intersectional. So not only is gender-based issues an important factor, but within that we intersect with disabled women who are significantly less likely to go to university and are more likely to have to, for example, become sex workers or have limited access to financial means. So I think working within the university to ensure that we recognise the intersectionality that impacts upon women and just people's access to university resources, to university itself, doing better outreach campaigning, and I think working to ensure that, like, in terms of well-being, there's enough resources to ensure that students are able to actually engage with their academia.
What are your thoughts, India?
In my manifesto, I've said that I would like to liaise with faculty to ensure that there is a focus on diversity and inclusivity in every course, not just humanities courses. So within the STEM subjects, how women and marginalised groups have helped to discover certain things, etc.
Brilliant. What aspect of your manifesto are you most excited about? We'll start with Jazz Taylor first.
I'm most excited about working with the existing PTOs and other aspects of the Students' Union in order to call for a mental wellbeing reform within the university. As a mental wellbeing advocate and working in mental health, I'm very, very passionate about disability, mental health, and ensuring that people have the specific access to appropriate mental health care. For example, women with different experiences being able to access counsellors tailored to their needs, their diagnoses, their backgrounds and experiences, and to ensure that it's accessible to all students. And I think that's something that I'm really passionate to continue working on, continue my work from Disabled Students Officer to working as Women's Exec with the other execs on this.
India, what are you excited about?
I'm excited to work with the other officers to ensure that we don't all keep to our own roles and we ensure that there's intersectionality in all the events that we plan. And I'm also excited to just you know, be a friend to students. I like making new friends. So.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking part today. You can find the full manifestos of the candidates at manchesterstudentunions.com/elections. Voting for the full-time, part-time and NUS officers elections, as well as the senior leadership vote of no confidence referendum, opens at 10 a.m. on Monday, the 8th of March. Don't miss the chance to have your say.